All right, everyone. Today we are going to talk about why riders should never give a recorded statement to insurance. Welcome to another new informative segment of Mototalks with Mitch and Mel from the law firm of Proner and Proner. I'm your host, Mel McCoyup. And as often as we can, we're going to sit down with a personal injury expert himself and rider, Mr. Mitch Proner, a personal injury attorney with over 30 years of experience, here to answer your questions or any interesting topics that you might find useful in your personal injury world. And remember, folks, if you need to contact us, all consultations are free and confidential. Call us at any time at 1-800-321-1234. How you doing, Mitch?
Pretty good, pretty good. So on the topic, I would say it's not a good idea to give a recorded statement without an attorney preparing you. It's not that you should never give a statement.
Okay.
You just don't want to shoot from the hip. You want to get prepared. If you think about it, if somebody was a CEO of a big company and a lot of money was at stake and there was potential litigation, before they gave a statement, they would talk to their lawyers.
Right.
Well, if you have an injury claim, you're the CEO of your claim. You're going to make the decisions whether or not to accept an offer to go to trial, and you want to have an attorney advising you because the attorney knows the law and you don't know the law. And even if you're a lawyer and you think you know the law, you can't be objective in your own situation because by definition, you're the subject of your story. So you can't be objective. You can't look at it from a distance. Even if your case is going to trial, you might think you know what the jury is going to do or what the jury should do because you know the truth. But the jury isn't going to be six of you. If you are sitting on your own jury with six other people that are you, yeah, you would know what the jury would do, but you don't get them. You get strangers, and they are more likely to be objective because they're not one of the subjects of your story. You are subjective. A lawyer has the added advantage of knowing the law for every claim. So for every case that goes to trial, every case, before the jury decides anything, who's at fault, how much money somebody should get, the judge instructs them on the law. But before the judge instructs them on the law, the judge has a conference with both lawyers, and both lawyers argue what they think the law of the case should be.
Oh.
And the judge listens to both sides, and then he comes up with his decision. But I'm an experienced trial lawyer, and even on typical cases like a left turn or somebody pulling out of a stop sign without looking, whenever it goes to trial, there are always unique issues that come up based upon the trial and the evidence that we have these conferences because we don't know what the law is until the judge hears both sides and makes a decision.
Okay.
Sometimes we have a pretty good idea, of course, but we never know. Now, an experienced attorney knows the law and knows what might come into issue in a case and can advise their client. So, for example, somebody's going down the road and a car pulls out from a stop sign. The rider might think it's good testimony to say, the guy pulled out of nowhere. I had no time to react. He didn't give me any time to react. Typically, people think, well, yes, it can't be my fault. He pulled out of nowhere. I didn't have any time to react. Well, hold on a second. Did you apply your brakes before impact? Yeah, I locked them both up. I locked up the rear and the front tire. Well then, Mr. Ryder, you did have time to react.
Oh, wow.
Because if you didn't have time to react, you couldn't have applied your brakes. Now, did you see the car as it pulled in front of you? Yeah, I did. And that's why I squeezed my brakes. Well, here's the way it works. In order, and this is not by my opinion, any accident reconstructionist, an engineer in accident reconstruction, they'll tell you there's a phenomenon called reaction time. So, if I tell you hold up your hands and get ready to clap when you hear a buzzer, and you know the buzzer's going to go, and then the buzzer goes, then you got to clap. Well, the time between them when the buzzer goes and you clap, that's reaction time. And typically it's a second to a second and a half. But that's for an expected event. A car pulling out from a stop sign is an unexpected event. So typically there would be a longer reaction time, because it's not like you're going to hear a buzzer, get ready to clap. It's
Right.
unexpected. And then you got to react. So during the reaction time, that's just the time for your eye to see it, for your brain to perceive what's going on, for it to send a signal to your nerves in your hands, to the muscles to squeeze, right?
Right.
Reaction time. Now, before you apply the brakes during that reaction time, if you're moving at 30 miles an hour, that's 45 feet per second. In that second and a half, before you can even hit your brakes, you moved 60 feet. Now, if you then applied your brakes before your brakes grab from squeezing, a little more distance, and then once your brakes start to grab, that's your stopping distance. No vehicle stops on the dime. You might hear, oh, I stopped right away. It's impossible. It's physically impossible.
Yeah.
Because one of the laws of physics is the law of momentum. A body in motion will stay in motion until acted upon by an equal and opposite force. There's always a stopping distance. You can look it up. And it depends on the size of the vehicle and the momentum. Because momentum is the mass times the velocity, meaning how fast it's going and how much it weighs. Which is why, excuse me, you can stop a bicycle faster than you can stop a train, because a train is heavier and has more momentum. But a motorcycle, my motorcycle, a road glide, Harley Davidson, wet, meaning with fluids, is over 800 pounds. It takes a while before it stops. And that momentum, reaction time, stopping distance, and then impact. So if somebody says, oh, it came out of nowhere, I had no time to react, if they hit their brakes, that's not true. And why is that important? Because there's a specific law, a jury charge that says every motor vehicle operator, including motorcyclists, have an obligation to see what's there to be seen. So if the bike pulled out in front of you, you had to see that or you were negligent. And if you hit your brakes, you did see it.
Oh, wow.
And a lawyer that's experienced and a good trial lawyer can prepare you.
So, quick question, Mitch. Sometimes some vehicles, I'm not sure about motorcycles, they have an automatic like sensor that you've been in an accident. If an insurance company does call you, I know you had mentioned earlier you should still talk to them. Is it
So here's the
best
way it
to?
works. Insurance company calls you up. You say, you have an obligation typically to cooperate with your own insurance because there might be a claim against you. Even if there's no claim against you, if the other vehicle doesn't have insurance, your vehicle might cover the claim. It might cover your property damage. So you have the obligation to cooperate with your insurance.
Okay.
And that might include telling them how the incident occurred and might include giving a recorded statement. But you could tell them, I'd be more than happy to give you the recorded statement. You just have to go through my attorney.
Okay.
Who's your attorney? Mitch Proner. And then they'll call me up and I'll make sure you're not giving any statement until you've been thoroughly prepared. That way you still have your coverage,
Yeah.
but you don't blow up your case because the carriers are looking to get admissions against your interest because that will minimize their exposure.
Now, are there sometimes? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I didn't say anything.
Oh,
I said a lot of things that are important,
yeah, you did. Sure
not
did.
not just this last moment.
Yeah. And now, are there sometimes with phone calls? Are there sometimes some misleading questions that adjusters can use to kind of trip up riders?
So there was underneath you and I, there was a graphic that said we are ethical. Okay. So yeah, I, 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 as a matter of fact, teach continuing legal education to other lawyers that includes ethics. So I teach other lawyers on ethics on occasion. That's not my specialty. I'm a trial lawyer, but as part of, I am an instructor of continuing legal education, and I try to practice with the highest ethics. So here's what's ethical.
Okay.
An insurance adjuster if they want to take that recorded statement, typically it's to minimize their exposure. Now, if they're your carrier, they might just want to know what are the vehicles involved and try and get a statement from the other operator. They really don't need your recorded statement unless they think there's a coverage issue and they might have to cover the claim.
Okay.
Then they want your statement to see if there's any way they could avoid paying full on the case. Typically. Or to set their reserves, which is the amount of money they have to put aside to settle all claims in order to write more policies. They have to justify their reserves. But if there's no injuries involved, they typically don't have to set a reserve. So they don't need that recorded statement. If it's just property damage, they could send out their adjuster, and they're going to. They don't typically just pay you based upon your recorded statement. They send somebody to look at the vehicle for property damage.
Right.
They go to the shop where it's at. So it's ethical for them to get your story, and they don't have to tell you the law beforehand. They're not preparing you. I just have a few questions. What's your name? What's your thing? Do you mind if I record this call? It's on a recorded line. Yeah, what's your date of birth? Where do you live? What happened on this? And they're getting the statement. They didn't prepare you. They didn't say before you testify, do you know the speed limit on the roadway you were traveling on? The speed limit was, before I ask you any questions about how fast you were going, you should know the speed limit was 30. And if you know the speed limit was 30 and you were traveling over 30 miles an hour, you could be held at fault for this incident and we won't have to pay you anything. Now, knowing that, how fast were you traveling? They don't say that to you. They don't advise you on the law. They just say, how fast were you going? Because you haven't been prepared. Now, you have a right to know the law. A lawyer's ethically can't tell you to lie. I can't tell a client, listen, don't say you were going 60, say you were going 30, so we can make some money on this. That's unethical. I can't tell them the law. Before you give any statement, let me tell you the law. Nothing unethical about that.
Yeah.
So you have the right to be prepared. And it's not a good, also, same thing with if the police show up, you got to assume they're writing down your statement. There's nothing in the law that requires you to tell on yourself. It's in your interest to say what the other motor vehicle operator did wrong. So starting out your statement, yeah, I was splitting lanes, which is against the rules in New York. And California, it's legal. In New York, it's not. You don't need to start off your statement, I was splitting lanes. No requirement under the law. You could tell the police, this guy switched lanes without signaling. That's what he did wrong. That's what caused the incident. You don't need to say, I shouldn't have been splitting lanes. You're not required under the law to tell on yourself. I'm not advising you to lie. It's not what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm saying don't give a recorded statement without being prepared by an attorney. And an ethical attorney doesn't need to tell you what the right story is. You got to tell the right story based on what you recall. You got to tell the truth. But an attorney can advise you on the law before you tell the truth.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, there you have it, folks. Thank you again, Mitch. Yet another great session with Mitch, the expert himself, Mr. Mitch Proner. Guys, don't forget, if you need our help, give us a call 24/7 at 1-800-321-1234, where consultations are free and confidential. Well, that'll do it for now. And thank you again for taking this time to tune in, whether it's on our podcast, video broadcasts. We really do appreciate you taking all this time. And please, if you haven't yet, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and of course, YouTube. Like, share, and please subscribe so you get the latest updates. Now, before we go, Mitch, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, ride free, ride safe. And if you have an incident, call an experienced attorney, somebody that's tried motorcycle cases, somebody that knows how it works. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Thanks again, Mitch, for yet another informative session with you. And thank you all for checking us out. And remember, we ride just like you. We'll see you next time, guys. Thanks, Mitch.
Take care.